Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit, and we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And so, as we mentioned earlier, this is one of those in-between weeks where we skipped a couple of weeks of Trinity. We've been ordering them since Trinity Sunday, but we always have that Sunday before Advent begins as the Sunday next before Advent. And so we jump forward and look at different books in preparation for the start of a new church season, which begins this Sunday. And so we talked about on Monday the book of Revelation. We talked about the book of the Epistle of St. Peter, and we talked about the deuterocanonical book of wisdom, the wisdom of Solomon, as it's often referred to. And so I thought, let's talk about the fourth book that we're working on today, and that is the book of the prophet Joel. Now, the name Joel was not an uncommon name in Jesus' time, not in Jesus' time, but in the Old Testament times. It was a very common name, and he is one of what is known as the minor prophets. Not that he's unimportant, but compared to the writings of Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, which were much longer, or the work of Moses and Elijah and Elisha, which we read about earlier, these are smaller books that deal with certain limited topics that God was using these people to convey a message to the people of Israel. And so we have this fellow Joel, who is a prophet. We believe that he wrote probably about 300 to 400 years before Jesus was born, to give you an idea of it. And the word Joel itself literally means the love of God. So what a nice name to have. Often when you see the word El at the end of a name that's been made Englishized. I know I'm mispronouncing that, but made into English with el on the end. The el means the word God, and it's believed that he was writing in particular as Israel was being controlled by the Greeks, and yet there's this desire for a return to worship in Jerusalem, and so we're on the we're assigned to read the third chapter, where he talks about a great battle that's going to happen. For behold, in those days when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, and I will gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there that my people and my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my hand. And they shall cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. And so he's talking about this great. Now, what does he mean by the valley of Jehoshaphat? Well, it's kind of an interesting word. The word Jehoshaphat actually means the Lord judges. So it's nice, by the way, to have a Bible that has what is known as an annotation. What is an annotation? So we usually use the King James Bible here. I've had this wonderful Bible that I love to use from Sister Mary Gabriel from 1889. She was a sister of the Holy Nativity. I got this at a used book sale, and it has in the margin all sorts of wonderful references. See that? Along the side, where I can look up in the Bible what it is that those verses are referring to in other parts of the Scripture. But there's also a book called an Annotated Bible, such as one of the study Bibles I like to use, which is the New Oxford Annotated Bible. And the Annotated Bible has something additionally in it, and that is not only is there a short introduction before each of the prophets so that you can kind of get a summation as you're reading, but at the bottom, as you see on this, it gives you some basic descriptions. Now, this is not an exhaustive study, but it gives you a wonderful way to look at the Scriptures themselves and to help you to put them in context of what you're reading. So what did I do today? I was reading, what do they mean by Jehoshaphat now? Of course, we've got a St. Jehoshaphat's Church up the road, and it's kind of the valley of I-75 heading towards Detroit. I'm pretty sure that's not at all what Joel's referencing. So what do they mean by Jehoshaphat? So what do? I look up down here in the bottom of the annotation, and sure enough, he's talking about here the day of judgment upon all nations, and the trial be held in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which means literally the Lord judges. So here's the judgment that's coming on those oppressors who have taken over the people of Israel and have sold their children and their sons and their daughters for all sorts of reasons that are not positive. And it's called the Valley of Decision. The Lord judges in the Valley of Decision. And Joel probably had no exact spot in mind except The context points to a general area of Jerusalem, and the tradition locates it in the Kidron Valley. So that's our point today. Not only do we get a chance to look at these wonderful readings from the minor prophets like Joel and Hosea, and there's a whole bunch of them all mashed together there at the end of what we call the Old Testament, or the original Testament, original covenant, but also the opportunity for us to figure out how it is that we can better study the Bible, and which is to have those aids, whether it be a place for us to look up where along the margins that we can go and find more help. Oh, that's a reference to the Psalter. Oh, that's a reference to Genesis. Oh, that's a reference to Deuteronomy. And when we get in the New Testament, of course, you will have all sorts of things in there like, oh, that's a reference to something from the Old Testament. So that is wonderful. But again, also to have a Bible that's good for us to sit down and to use as an academic study manual. As I have, this is my third copy of this particular book. My first one, which I had when I first came to Christ, the covers are just falling off, not because I use it so much, although I do use it very much, but because it was in my backpack as a college student, and that backpack got thrown around a lot, and the covers fell off. So, and then I had the second one, which I used for a while, and then gave to somebody who was in need of one, and now this is my third copy of it. Thankfully, it is still in print. I do like the Revised Standard Version. I don't like the New Revised Standard Version. That's a meditation for another day. I like the Revised Standard Version as an academic version, but boy, that nothing reads and memorizes like the good old Authorized Version, authorized for use in the Church of England by King James. All right, that's enough rambling for Father Kelly on a Friday. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving yesterday, and I hope that your Friday today is full of blessings. God bless you.